I knew the shift had gone on too long when I started counting the seconds between each breath just to stay upright. 2.5 hours of overtime, 4 extra pallets that needed finished and shipped, 1 forklift that decided to die halfway through loading. By the time I finally clocked out, my shoulders felt like cinder blocks and the buzzing hum of the factory floor was still rattling in my skull. The hallway light in our building buzzed and flickered as I slowly trudged up the stairs, steel-toed boots dragging, my jacket slung over my shoulder because I was too tired to wear it. 3rd floor, end of the hall. Our apartment door leaned a little to the left. Just like everything else in my life. A little off-center, slightly crooked, but still standing because it had to. I fumbled my keys at the lock. One slipped away from my grip and clattered onto the tile inside when I pushed the door open. It skidded across the floor, tapped the base of the bookshelf where a photo frame sat propped up against the lowest shelf, face down. I stared at the frame for a second. My lungs paused, like they always did when my brain nudged me towards it. Not tonight. I kicked the door shut with my heel, bent to scoop up the key, and very deliberately did not pick up the picture. "About time," Rachel called from the living room. "I was starting to think you had died at work." Her voice floated over the low murmur of the TV. Some crime show by the sound of it. Gunshots, someone screaming, the canned drama of it scraping at already frayed nerves. "Hey babe," I said, letting the words fall flat as I hung my jacket on the back of the chair and towed my boots off by the mat. The kitchen hit me first, the smell of old grease and something sour. The sink was full, not a few dishes from lunch full. Full. The lid on the garbage can refused to close because of how full it was. "You have got to be kidding me," I muttered. "What?" Rachel replied, like she knew damn well. "You were off today," I said, stepping around a rogue sock and a balled-up hoodie on the floor. "You couldn't do the dishes, or at least try not to grow a new life form in the sink?" She snorted. "Wow, hello to you too." My jaw clenched. I forced myself to take a breath, then another, crossing the narrow kitchen to set my lunchbox on the counter. My fingers ached as I unclipped the lid. The plastic looked more worn every time I opened it. Like me. "How long have these been sitting here?" I asked, nudging a pan with the back of my knuckles. The sour milk smell clawed up my nose. Rachel didn't answer right away. When I turned, she was stretched across the sagging couch, phone in hand, blue light washing over her face. Her chipped pink nail polish tapped against the screen rapid fire. "Dunno," she finally said. "Couple days?" I closed my eyes. "A couple of days?" I echoed slowly. "You've been off work for the past 2 days and could have done all this." "You could have helped too," she shot back, not looking up. "You weren't at work 24 hours a day, Saint Sandra." "It's Sandy," I snapped, louder than I meant to. The sound bounced off the walls, making the apartment feel even smaller. "And I just pulled a 10.5-hour shift, Rage." She rolled her eyes and mimicked under her breath. "I just pulled a 10.5-hour shift. Seriously, you act like you're the only person on earth who knows what work is." I grabbed a plate from the top of the stack, the ceramic slick under my fingers. "I'm not saying that. I'm asking why you left everything for me. Again." "We've talked about this," she said, brushing her hair from her face with her hand. "You get weird about how things are done, so I figured, hey, I'll let you do it your way. Win-win." "You mean you'll let me do everything?" I said. The plate clanked harder than I meant it to when I set it into the cloudy dishwater. "That's what you mean." Rachel paused the show, finally turning to look at me. Her eyes were already narrowed. like she'd been waiting for this all day. You know, she said, most girlfriends would say thank you for the pizza and the laundry and the fact that I was here waiting. But sure, let's fight about dishes. The damn pizza box is from 3 days ago and still on the counter, I shot back, gesturing with a soapy hand. And the laundry's still in the washer, probably smelling like a wet dog by now. If it bothers you, you could have just asked, she said, her voice going sharp around the edges, instead of nagging the second you walked in the door. I let out a bitter laugh. That wasn't nagging. Well, what do you call it then? I stared at her, fatigue in my bones turning into heat. Asking for help, I said. Again. For the 100th time. Rachel threw up her free hand. God, you sound just like my mother. Something hot and ugly rolled up from the pit of my stomach. And you sound like someone who thinks chores magically do themselves, I said. Her gaze iced over. Wow, that's cute. Keep going. The faucet hissed as I turned it on, hot water rolling steam over the mountain of dishes. My fingers tingled from the sudden temperature change. Do you know what my day was like? I asked quietly, scrubbing hard at a fork that had decided to cling to a dried egg like its life depended upon it. Do you even care? I had a day too, she said. Just because I don't come home smelling like grease doesn't mean I'm not allowed to be tired. I didn't say you weren't allowed to be tired, I said, my voice climbing whether I wanted it to or not. I'm saying you sat here all day and left everything for me. Again. Yes, Mom, she said, drawing out the word with a mocking sweetness. I'll remember to do my chores next time. And when I do, don't forget my $5 weekly allowance. The fork slipped in my hand. I turned off the water and faced her fully, the dish rag dripping onto the floor. Don't, I said. Rachel tilted her head. Don't what? Don't call me that, I said. Don't you dare. She smirked. If the slipper fits. Rachel? What? She sat up, tossing her phone onto the couch beside her. You're pacing around the apartment, sighing, banging shit around because the big bad dishes didn't wash themselves. I already have one critical woman in my life. I don't need two. Tremor ran through my hands up into my forearms. It felt like my muscles were vibrating under my skin. I'm asking you, I said, carefully enunciating each word, to do your part. That's it. That's all this is. I am not your mother. She laughed, sharp and humorless. Well, you sure as hell act like her. The room seemed to tilt. For a second, I heard nothing. No TV, no hum of the fridge, no highway noise beyond the thin windows. Just a hollow ringing in my ears. I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. What did you say? You heard me, Rachel replied, folding her arms. You nag, you pick at every little thing, you act like nothing is ever good enough. That's mom energy. Own it. The ringing grew louder. My fingers curled tighter around the dish towel. Somewhere far away, my heart started pounding hard enough to hurt. I hardly know anything about her, I shot back, because the only thing you do is bitch about her when she comes up in conversation. Rachel scoffed. You know enough. You know she pretends like she's the perfect martyr, and then you turn around and reenact her greatest hits. You think I don't notice? You think that same tone she used when you talk about responsibility and doing what needs to be done? It's suffocating, Sandy. Stop, I said. You know, not everything is my fault just because you grew up in a house full of... I said stop. Perfect angels, she finished, ignoring me. You just like being in charge. You like feeling needed. You feel like you need to be important. Something inside my chest snapped. It makes me feel like I'm not failing, I shouted. The volume of my own voice startled me. Rachel flinched, eyes widening just a fraction. The dish rag slipped from my hand and hit the floor with a wet slap. I am trying, I said, my breathing choppy now. I am working myself sick, trying to keep things together between us, and you sit there and mock me because you had to look at a dish for more than 5 seconds. It's not about the damn dish, she yelled back, standing from the couch. It's about you acting like I'm a child every time something doesn't go your way. If you didn't act like one, I wouldn't have to, I shouted back. Her face twisted. Wow, there it is. There what is? The real you, she said. The one who thinks she's better than everyone because she works more hours and takes on all the responsibility and never shuts up about how hard everything is. You think suffering makes you special, Sandy. It doesn't. It just makes you miserable to be around. I don't think I'm special, I spat. I think I'm tired. And whose fault is that? She asked, stepping closer. Because it sure as hell isn't mine every time. It's not about fault, I said. It's about help, about partnership, about not feeling like I have to do everything alone all the time. She shook her head, disbelief etched into every line of her body. You chose this. You chose to carry everything. You could say no once in your life, and the world wouldn't end. You don't know what the world would do, I said. You don't know what would happen if I stopped. Because you won't let anyone else get close enough to find out, she snapped. You don't talk. You don't open up. You just manage and control and martyr yourself and then blow up when someone doesn't immediately read your mind. My vision blurred at the edges. The room felt too small, the air too thick. The photo on the floor by the bookshelf hovered at the edge of my awareness like a bruise I refused to look at. Don't talk to me like you know me, I said, my voice shaking. Like you know what I'm holding together. Then tell me, she said, arms thrown wide. Tell me, Sandy, tell me what big, horrible secret you're juggling inside of that head of yours that allows you to treat me like shit every time the laundry doesn't get folded on your personal schedule. I opened my mouth. For a moment, the words pressed against the back of my teeth. You don't understand. You don't know what they expect. You don't know how close I am to collapsing. However, nothing came out. I closed my mouth again. That's what I thought, Rachel said, her lips curling. You'd rather be mysterious and overburdened than actually talk to the person you're supposedly in love with. A hot tear slipped down my cheek. I wiped it away roughly. This isn't about mystery, I said. It's about you not listening. Ever. I've asked and nagged and scolded and guilt-tripped, she threw back at me. You want a maid, not a girlfriend. I want a partner, I snapped. I want someone who gives a damn that I'm drowning. I want someone who doesn't compare me to their mother. What else is there to compare you to, Rachel said, her voice going cold. Certainly not your brother. The world fell down into that one sentence. Certainly not your brother. Don't, I said, barely audible. Don't you even go there. Rachel didn't stop. You know that I hate my mom so much that you became her. That's the funniest part. It wasn't funny. It was gasoline. I am not her, I roared. My hand swept out before my brain caught up. A stack of mail on the counter went flying, envelopes scattering like startled birds. One skidded across the floor and slapped against the face-down photo frame, jolting it an inch. Jesus, Rachel breathed. There she is again. I took a step toward her. She didn't move back. The inches between us crackled. Stop comparing me to her, I said. You don't get to throw her at me every time you're mad because you couldn't be bothered to put a plate in a dishwasher. A plate? She said, her voice pitching higher. You think this is still about a plate? You're the one who pushed it there, I said. I came home, I asked for help, and you went straight for the jugular. You've been on my case all week, she shouted. About dishes, about bills, about how I spent Saturday with my friends instead of helping you reorganize the pantry because we were running out of food, I said, and out of money, and I was trying to make sure we could stretch what we had left until payday, Rach. She laughed bitterly. And I was trying to have one day where I didn't feel like I was disappointing you by breathing wrong. We were both breathing hard now, words coming too fast to catch. The TV glowed mutely behind her, actors frozen mid-frame. A siren wailed faintly from somewhere out in the city, but it sounded far away. The world had narrowed to the small, overheated space between us. I am not your mother, I said again, words tearing at my throat. I am not her. I am not. You're right, she said, eyes flashing. She didn't snap this much. You've got her beat by a mile. I didn't remember deciding to move. 1 second we were standing apart. The next my hands were gripping her by her tank top, pushing her back. Rachel stumbled, hitting the edge of the counter with a thud. A glass tipped over and rolled under the sink with a clink. Her eyes went wide. Don't, I said, voice low and shaking. Don't ever compare me to her like that again. You hear me? You're hurting me, she said, trying to pull away. The words sliced through my anger. I dropped my hands if burned, stumbling back a step, my spine colliding with the opposite counter. My chest tightened. I'm sorry. I didn't mean. Rachel stared at me, hugging herself. When she finally spoke again, her voice had changed. The anger was still there, but it was threaded with something else. Fear. This is what I mean, she said quietly. You go from 0 to 100 like that. You terrify me sometimes, Sandy. I terrify me, I whispered. My hands were shaking so hard I had to flatten them on the countertop to keep them from trembling in the air. The laminate felt slick under my palms, damp from the splashed dishwater. Just breathe. In, out. My vision shuddered in and out of focus. The ringing in my ears came back, louder than before. Look at you, Rachel said. You're shaking like you're about to. She cut herself off. Her eyes flicked down, then up again. Her face went very pale. I followed her gaze. There, by my right hand, lying parallel to the edge of the counter, was the chef's knife I used that morning to cut an apple before work. I had washed it, but hadn't put it away. The blade lay there, a dark line against the pale counter, catching the overhead light. My fingers were inches from the handle. For a heartbeat, everything went silent. It would be so easy, some detached part of me observed. One motion, one moment, one way to make it all stop. My gaze slid from the knife to the inside of my forearm. The skin there looked almost too thin. The veins underneath a faint blue map. No. The word didn't feel like mine. It fluttered somewhere at the edge of my thoughts, weak and distant. I couldn't feel my legs. My body buzzed, full of static, like I'd stood up too fast and forgotten how to exist. San? Rachel's voice sounded far away. A ringing filled my ears as my hand twitched. The distance between my fingers and the knife handle felt like a mile and a fraction of an inch, all at once. thoughts blurred, focusing on the cold, clean idea of silence. I stared at my arm. I could fix it. I could stop the pain. I could end the fighting. The tile floor felt unsteady under my feet. The apartment warped around me. Sandy? What are you doing? Rachel said, sharper now. Don't. Hey, look at me. I didn't. My vision tunneled until all I saw was the pale underside of my wrist and the blur of steel beside it. Then her voice broke through, high, panicked, and absolutely terrified. No, Sandy! No, Sandy! Sandy, no! If you or someone you know is in crisis, help is available right now. Call or text 988 to reach the Suicide Crisis Lifeline in the U.S. Trained counselors are available 24/7, free and confidential.